If you find yourself having a conversation about flagships in 2025, the Honor 400 Pro might not come into the conversation, but that's not because of anything to do with the actual design of the smartphone. It's actually what's inside that might cause it to kind of be scoffed at because it's not a flagship processor. But does that mean it should be completely discounted from the conversation altogether? I don't think so. I like its curved finish, and to be honest, it's very comfortable in the hand. The weight and size almost are perfect if you ask me. From a durability perspective as well, it's got bases covered, and my only complaint here is the edge of the smartphone, which is made of this plastic finish, which might not give it the most premium feel in the hand. The edges might also accumulate some scratches over time, so that's something to keep in mind. Now, that curved design that I talked about also lends itself nicely to the display, which is also a curved panel, very slightly curved, and it's a 6.7-inch display, AMOLED at 120 Hz. For me, the benchmark of any screen is to do with outdoor visibility, which I think is really good on this smartphone, and the other benchmark is of course being able to use the 120 Hz refresh rate properly, which I kind of couldn't, so I had to switch to the high refresh rate option rather than the dynamic one. So if you're planning to use this long term as well and want it to be zippy, make sure to do that. I'm also not too bothered by how multimedia looks on this thing. I think it's pretty okay. If you're a fan of warmer tones and punchier colors, you might find the panel to be a bit lackluster, but for general content consumption, I don't think you'll be too disappointed. However, I did find the speakers on the 400 Pro to be a bit underwhelming, not full, and kind of tinny sounding. So if you're an audiophile, some headphones might be a good idea. And if you don't believe me, well, here's a sample. So like I mentioned at the start of the video, the only thing setting this apart from a typical flagship is the processor inside, but the processor is not too shabby if you ask me. I've been able to get through my daily routine, except sometimes I felt applications pause a bit and aren't able to stay in memory as long as I'd like, but that's not something the processor is at fault at, to be honest. And going forward, I'll also start including this RAM and speed test in videos, just so you get a feel of how the device performs in this case and how it overall would perform on a regular day-to-day usage scenario. Beyond speed though, I feel like in today's day and age where hardware is pretty much the same across multiple devices, the software really sets the smartphone apart. And in the case of the Honor 400 Pro, we're rocking Honor's magicOS 9. Look, the software has seen tremendous growth in the past couple of years, but it's just not a skin that I particularly prefer on an Android smartphone. For example, elements don't look as clean as they could on, let's say, a Nothing OS or even Samsung's One UI, and I feel like the notifications aren't something that I would personally like to use long term. The subtle animations are also a bit disjointed, like when you're pulling the notification bar, almost everything comes into display all at once rather than it being a gradual animation. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of customization that's possible on magicOS 9, but it just feels like the OS is a bit stuck in the past. I'm also a purist when it comes to using an Android device. I like to have an app drawer, and that's not something that's really great on the Honor 400 Pro. I feel like some sort of an AI feature to arrange things like you do get in the home screen of the smartphone could have been useful here, but it's sadly not the case. And I know that most of these things that I've talked about can be fixed with a simple launcher, but I want to review the smartphone with what the company has to offer and intends to offer, and that's why I'm chiming in with my thoughts on the software as well. One thing that's in abundance on the Honor 400 Pro though is the amount of AI features on board. I'm pretty sure you're not going to be using all of them, but if I was to pick, maybe Magic Portal is one that you can use where you can quickly send things to all your friends by quickly selecting it. And number two is of course Circle to Search, that is baked in a Google feature. But most of the other AI features that are really interesting come through the camera of the device. And I think that's a great segue to talk about the camera on the device. You've got a triple camera setup. It's a 200 megapixel wide, followed by a 50 megapixel telephoto, as well as a 12 megapixel ultra wide lens setting and completing the unit. The way I like to test a smartphone's camera is to assess completely its range all the way from zooming as well as portraits to nighttime photography, and that's what I'm gonna do with this one as well. Have a look at this picture using the main camera. It's a pretty good one and captures the mood well, but as soon as you zoom 2x, this is what you get. The change of colors going from one lens to another, and that too being so drastic, is sometimes a bit too much, and I like this to get fixed in future updates if possible, or maybe in a next gen version of the device. Subsequent pictures at 3x, 6x, and 10x all have a very similar color range, and quality remains good until 6x, with 10x taking a bit of a hit. But beyond that, at 50x, you get a glimpse of Honor's AI processing. This is without it, and this is with it, so there's definitely a huge difference, and that's something that really comes on only in daytime photography. Another sample, owing to the colors in the photo, the shift in colors between 1 and 2x isn't as drastic here, but from 2 to 3x, there's a huge shift. This is at 6x, and this one is at 10x, capping off with 50x, where once again the difference between the AI enhanced image and the regular one is night and day. I don't think the lens setup is bad by any means on the Honor 400 Pro, because the quick shutter and the quality, especially at 6x like you see here, can work wonders sometimes, but having color consistency as well would have definitely helped. Next, let's talk about the ultra-wide setup, which I think actually has more consistent colors with respect to the wide lens. Yes, the colors might be a bit more saturated on the ultra-wide, but overall things are good. Here are a few more samples, and finally this last one. I think this is great to showcase another AI feature, this one helping with editing, where you can remove elements in your picture. I think this works pretty quick and well, and I can definitely see it being really useful in day-to-day. Moving to portraits, I'm actually pretty happy with the results, and here too, you've got an AI feature to enhance your portraits. What this primarily does is smooths any blemishes out and makes pictures look appealing. The processing is subtle, which I like, and I can definitely see myself and a lot more people using this feature. Let's take a look now at a few selfie images from the 50 megapixel front sensor, and honestly, I'm quite happy with this. You get a cropped in version and you get a wider one, and of course you can take a portrait selfie as well without any problem. Daytime images out of the way, let's have a look at daytime video now. Here's a quick sample from the Honor 400 Pro's front-facing camera at a max resolution of 4K 30 FPS using something called noise reduction AI technology as well. So hopefully I sound really clear, and also I hope I look good, because I can see that this is doing a pretty good job. There is some blowing out in the background in terms of highlights, and also the dynamic range seems to be poorer when you're directly facing a bright source, but overall this is the quality that you get on the smartphone. Let me know what you guys think, and let's now move on to the rear-facing video samples. So this is a look at 4K 30 FPS video quality from the rear-facing camera on the Honor 400 Pro. I start with 4K 30 FPS only because this is the max resolution and frame rate that you can do with the ultra-wide lens on this camera, so you cannot go and do 4K 60 FPS, which is a bit of a drawback if you're someone who wants to do content creation. But nonetheless, this is the quality. I'm pretty much just having a stroll near a nice area in Dubai here. What we're going to do is switch to the 1x lens. So this is now the regular lens, and we're facing pretty much directly the sun as the sun is setting. This is kind of like a late evening kind of a time. But hopefully this gives you an idea of how the camera is performing. Let me move so that you can see a bit more of the actual view, as well as that this place has a lot of ambient and surrounding noise, so I thought this would be a great place for me to test the audio quality too. So let me know about that as well. I'm gonna do one last test and move all the way to 3x. This is a look at 3x. Now I do see that there is a bit of a shake to the preview as I'm recording, but I would want to see how this corrects itself in post.
So yeah, let me know what you guys think. And that is a wrap for the video test as well. Almost forgot about this one, but this is 4K 60 FPS. We are restricted only to the regular wide angle lens, but you should be seeing a much smoother looking kind of footage between what you saw previously and what you saw here. I don't know how much of that is actually translating to the video. And again, this is a great way for me to test this out fairly quickly. I do feel like the quality is fairly good, but at 4K 60 FPS, there seems to be a lack of the same stability that I was seeing with 4K 30 FPS, but that could just be me. Let me know if you guys feel any differently. And once again, you can zoom in to 3x. That is the recommended zoom level. So I am going to zoom in to 3x. And this is how things look from a stability and quality perspective at 3x zoom using 4K 60 FPS. Not bad.
I'll give you a similar set of images for nighttime performance as well, and also alternate between the regular mode and night mode. This is what 2x looks like with and without night mode, and this is 3x. I'm not seeing much of an improvement with night mode, to be honest, and there's a hint of noise in the images regardless. At 6x, there's a slight bit more sharpness to the image with night mode, but again, quite marginal. 10x is about the same with no real difference, and finally there's 50x for which there's no night mode support and no AI enhancements either. We'll cycle through yet another set of images going over zoom, but again, there's nothing too spectacular about the nighttime performance of the Honor 400 Pro's camera suite, so this is an area where it slightly underperforms for the camera setup that's on it. Now we'll move to the ultra-wide setup where again it seems to be fairly underperforming. It seems that in most of these cases the sharpness in the picture is absolutely cranked up and the end result isn't too impressive. I think this is a place where Honor can definitely take some learnings and improve in the future. Portraits though aren't too bad and it's definitely usable. The AI once again comes into play in portraits that have good lighting, but all it ends up doing is smoothing out the photo, which isn't ideal. One place where I don't find any complaints is from the selfie camera, where both regular and portrait images are good. And so let's round off with some nighttime video.
Here's a look at front-facing video from the Honor 400 Pro at night. Once again, this is 4K 30 FPS, the maximum that you can record in right here. And what I'm going to do is actually show you guys the difference between when AI noise cancellation is on and off. So right now it's off and I'm pretty sure you can hear the things around me. I'm going to now turn it on, and so noise reduction has now kicked in. Let me know if you guys can tell if there's a difference between these two audio clips and whether or not AI noise reduction makes a difference or not. But yeah, this is how the quality of the front-facing video camera is going to look like on the Honor 400 Pro if you're going to be using it at night. This is a sample from the rear-facing camera starting off at 4K 30 FPS at night, and this is by default on the ultra-wide lens of the camera. I can see that the quality isn't too great. Things do look a bit out of focus and blurry and also have quite a bit of noise to them, so I am not sure how much of a difference that's going to play when this thing actually goes into maybe processing. And once I save this video, I'm gonna switch now to the regular lens. This is now the 1x lens using the same 4K 30 FPS footage. Let me know if there is a difference. I can definitely tell that there is a massive difference between the ultra wide and the regular altogether. And last but not least, I am going to switch now to the 3x zoom. So this is now the 3x zoom lens. Once again, same quality. Let me know what you guys think. And yeah, I'm gonna cap it off with a 4K 60 FPS video now. Taking a look at 4K 60 FPS video footage from the Honor 400 Pro's rear camera setup. I do feel like the 1x lens is the way to go here. Anything ultra wide on the smartphone isn't going to cut it. And of course, on the 4K 60 FPS option, you do not have the ultra wide setting altogether. So this is what the camera is recording. On screen, I do see these billboards blown out, but I'm sure with processing, it might fix itself. Let me know if you can see that in post, and of course I'll be putting in some comments and thoughts as well. And this is now looking at the 3x zoom using the 4K 60 FPS setting. Also, ambient noise is quite high here, so I thought this would be a very good test to check out the audio suppression and AI noise reduction quality as well.
In a nutshell, the Honor 400 Pro's camera is half good, half not so great. During the day, I do think the camera performance is quite powerful, even though it might not have consistency between lenses, but with its AI features, it really sells you. Another one that I really like is the photo to video one, where it turns pretty much any still image into a video completely using AI, almost like magic. The first few times I used this, I was completely blown away, and I'm gonna continue to use this as long as it remains free. Alright, so if you've made it this far into the video, I think I've done a good job with explaining pretty much all of the feature sets on the Honor 400 Pro. And that leaves me with the battery. It's a 6000 milliamp hour cell on this thing, pretty large for the form factor that you get, and I'm honestly quite impressed with it. You can get through a day very, very easily on this. Even at 50 to 60% charge, it can go through a day with heavy usage without any problem, and you've got 100-watt charging with the charging brick and the cable in the box, alongside 50-watt wireless charging. So if you're really into your battery, I don't think this smartphone is going to pose any problems at all. And with that, my review of the Honor 400 Pro is complete. I feel like this smartphone really slots itself nicely among the competition, like the Samsung Galaxy S24 FE, for example, or the Apple iPhone 16e. And when you compare this to that, you do get some incremental benefits over those, things like AI performance, better battery life, and I feel like subjectively the design is also good. But at the same time, its camera performance and the user experience is something that is a bit lackluster on this thing, and probably will improve over time, maybe through software updates or through the next iteration. But thanks for watching this one. I hope you found it useful, and if you did, a like and a subscription would be very much appreciated. This was Vaibhav, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.